It's going to be an interesting show. First up, let's take a look at farming and production capabilities across the two companies. Paul, kick us off with, do you want Astral first?
Now let's start with Rainbow because it's the larger player. Look, yes, it's not a very pleasant industry from the chicken's point of view. 20 days is all it takes from hatchling to finished bird ready for consumption. I mean, this is the story of human, agriculture, is that it's all pretty grisly once you actually look under the hood. Rainbow, though, internationalized and nationalized the production chain. So they have major broiler operations in all regions of the country. As you can see from their results, most recently they invested heavily in upgrading the facilities in Rustenburg and in a place called Bush Valley. I had to go and look up where Bush Valley was. I think it's in the Limpopo province. It's not too far from Zanin, and that makes sense because a lot of people up there want to eat chicken. It's highly mechanized, it's got all the attributes of modern farming, it's all feed, it's all disease resistance, it's all temperature control, the lights are on the whole time. But that's the nature of the game. It manufactures both the individually quick frozen portions as well as selling into the fast food industry, as well as distributing their own branded products, which is Farmer Brown, which is their major one, as well as a new thing called Mamas, which is all about portion control. So every single frozen bag has exactly the same number of portions so that mama can make sure that everybody in the family gets a piece when it ends up on the kitchen table.
And there's no squabbling at the dinner table.
And how much chicken is eaten? 20 chickens per person for the entire population in South Africa. Per annum?
That's
a lot,
That's about 1 billion chickens a year.
That's
so,
right. Yes.
That makes us...
demand is there,
demand
then, obviously.
is high, yes.
We're still talking about Rainbow. Do you want to add anything about their farming operations?
Not about the farming operations, but about the financial situations. You just mentioned a PE of 42. Wow, that's hefty. They've got to do a lot of growing to grow into that.
Yeah, look, I mean, the current scenario is one where they are experiencing severe margin pressure on the production side. And the reason, of course, is because...
higher input costs.
The input costs have risen, and that's from two sources. Firstly, fuel, which is electricity or coal or natural gas, depending on what's available in the area, because it's all about heating and about getting the temperatures right. The temperatures have to be quite high for optimal bird production. And then there are also energy costs associated with the slaughtering and the preparation and then the subsequent cooling. So it's all going up there. The maize price, though, is the most significant input cost. And we know that's a big, big problem because maize prices are set internationally as a function of what's going on with the maize crop, principally in the United States of America. So, they've had some very bad weather conditions over in Iowa, and that has caused the prices to go up. And then there's the rand-dollar exchange rate, because that enters into it as well. So that sort of sets your base price. That's been very high precisely at the time when they were unable to get any higher realized selling prices because of the Brazilians.
You're talking across both companies now, Astral and Rainbow. I want you guys to be a little bit more specific on Astral in the same light when we started the discussion on Rainbow. So we're talking about their farming operations and the detail there.
Well, farming operations are really very similar. There's not a big difference. The same sort of inputs, electricity, fuel, wherever it is, food. It's a very integrated business plan that they have, but they don't have control of the two things. That's power and the maize price itself. So there's a similarity in that case.
At the end of the day, this is margin pressure across the board.
Yes.
Neither company can escape them through any clever maneuvering.
Well, you can only do your best. You can attempt to integrate with your own maize suppliers, but most of them are reluctant to get into massive scale maize growing. The other thing you can do is be more active in either the finished birds or the little hatchlings, which are the smaller birds, which tend to get produced in specialist facilities and then distributed out to the rest of the industry. So there are lots of people who are in the broiler game, including smaller players who don't in fact do their own hatching and newborn little chicks. They get them in from elsewhere.
At the end of the day, not much room to maneuver.
There's just something on Astral. They actually are in the business of selling eggs and selling day-old chicks, perhaps to a greater extent than Rainbow. But there we are. It's one of those things, also very integrated, from before birth to after birth in this case.
Are eggs just not the better business here?
I have no idea. I mean, they might be, but as far as I know, you've got to be in the game of adding all these extra bits and pieces and bringing it to the table. So I would imagine it's the finished product that's just going to be worth more.
We need some clarity. Farming, are we having Astral or are we having Rainbow in the lead?
Look, I
Do we
think
have?
the
My
fact
English
of the matter
leaves a little
is,
to be desired today.
Astral, remember, let's talk about them a little bit more. I mean, they're more in the feeds game as well. So they present themselves more on the agricultural side. So they both buy in maize as well as remanufacture and prepare and distribute it out. So their brands in that area have done well over the years. Meadow Feeds is their main brand in that environment, quite well known. And they sell that also to the animal husbandry industry, so to people raising beef and people that are,
Are you saying
horses and so on.
Astral is edging ahead?
No, I think it's a fairly tough game for all of them across the board right now. I don't think anyone has a natural
So no
advantage.
clear winner, no
There is-
advantage.
No, but there's one other thing that Astral have, and that is whatever they call them, clinical expertise, which they sell as a product of their own.
What is clinical? What are clinical
In other words,
expertise?
if there's a farming and agricultural problem, they can send the right expert to go to them and recommend this is what should be done to correct it.
A
So
consulting
veterinarian
business?
service, yes.